can I influence the boss when I never see her? And I have to say, my experience of working in organisations today is so much more difficult because of remote working and global organisation. So it's quite a common challenge that we get. I'm going to let Colin have a go with this first and let him put his point over.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, David. I mean, there is so much going on in most of the organisations that, you know, certainly our clients and the people that we talk to are working with so many priorities, multiple bosses and things like that. That's one of the interesting things that's not here. She's in a lucky position because she's only got one boss. You know, I think most people that we talk to have got, you know, matrix bosses as well. But I think to strike at the heart of this, my perspective on this would be, if you're not able to see your boss, well, might be a bit of a difficult one to take on board, but maybe you're not a priority, and what you want to see her about is not that much on her agenda that she is making time for you to spend that time sort of talking about what you need to talk about. So, you know, my suggestion would be, you know, a couple of things really, is to start off with thinking about, well, what is her agenda all about? What is it that she's trying to achieve, and how does that relate to, well, why you want to see her? Because if it's not important to her, she probably won't make the time, you know, unless she has to. And I think it would be much more in your interest if she was really sort of beating your door down to actually get to see you. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing then is to sort of, you know, look at ways, and maybe some creative ways, that you can increase your presence on her agenda, so increase the level of priority. And I remember on a recent webinar we were doing where we sort of looked at two different agendas and the degree to which they overlap, and the more overlap you've got, the better. Another point to make here is to realise that, yeah, there may be some very good reasons. It may not be that she's not interested or hasn't got you as a high priority, but with the stresses and strains of her role and what she's been tasked to do, maybe genuinely she hasn't got time to sort of give you the attention that you really need to get things done. So that sort of makes me think that, well, okay, well, how can you make it easier for that individual, for that boss, to give you what you need? Which is another thought for you, that, well, you know, be very clear about your requests, you know, and don't say, hey boss, I need 5 minutes, and then take up an hour, because then they're going to get, well, hang on, you know, she asked me for 5 minutes last time and it turned into. So be very precise and be very clear about the outputs that you want from any exchange that you have with that boss. And I think it's really then sort of about, you know, sort of putting those pieces together to actually look at the reality of the situation that you're faced with, and really what practical steps you can take to, well, not get more time necessarily, but get what you need from the boss. You know, quite often, you know, it might be just moral support, it might be just as a sounding board, it might be technical input, for instance. And the more precise you can be, the less you can disturb your boss in the execution of her duty, I suppose. So those are my initial thoughts, and I'm just wondering, sort of, you know, David, as I said before, quite often takes a different slant on some of these things. So I wonder what you make of this question and what your response would be, Dave.
Yeah, I think a key aspect here is, in terms of key stakeholders, those people upon whom your success depends. The boss, in global terms, I guess, has a key influence on your success in matters. Certainly on some projects she might not figure on your stakeholder enough, but in general terms, career-wise, it's important to build strong relationships with your key stakeholders in order to, I guess, support your success. And so one consideration is, where might you place that individual? Where would you place your boss on the stakeholder map? How far up the horizontal dimension in terms of a strong relationship would you plot her? And the things, of course, that move the individual up to the right-hand side are a relationship built on trust, on openness, so an element of sharing that you will do with the boss in terms of striking that psychological contract with them. But also frequency of contact. And I think how can one ever build a relationship if there isn't a frequency of contact? So it's about finding ways of engaging always with a degree of frequency to ensure that. Shall we move to another question? That's my thought.
Just one extra thought, David. I'm sorry, we wanted to turn this into a bit more of a conversation, but what David was saying just triggered another thought in my mind, which is about attitude and the attitude you take into that relationship. And if you are, and I've seen this a lot, if you are going in with the sort of attitude that you're hard done by and come on boss, give me some time, and sort of whiny, that's not gonna help build the relationship nor get you what you want. But instead sort of going into an attitude where you're positively saying, look, I know you're really busy, but I want to help you to be more successful. I want to be more successful. Let's work together now. Hey, can we have a quick sort of 7.5 minutes or something like that to really drive down on a couple of these key issues? And being positive, I think, and not being whiny or sort of hard done by, I think is probably an important addition to what David was saying. And it's really driving towards building a good relationship, I suppose. Okay, I hope you found that useful, and I hope you can relate it to your situation and think of something to do differently that will help you to become more influential. Don't forget, if you think this could be of use to your friends and colleagues, please make sure to share it, and stay subscribed to the Influence blog to get the next full edition of Talented and Influential. Look forward to seeing you soon.